Saulteaux, Sicanee, and Slavey First Nations. We value the Métis people that live and gather here. We commit to upholding the respectful relationships these nations have built with the land, and we acknowledge our responsibility to carry that forward today and into the future. First order of business is 2 delegations. 2.1, Anneka just had something come up, so she won't be able to attend, so we'll reschedule that one. 2.2, we have Moira Green, General Manager, Community Futures, Peace Liard, and Scott Clerk, Associate Vice President of Educational Services with Northern Lights College in attendance regarding the update on the Northeast BC Rural Community Immigration Pilot Program. So, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
If you just push your button on the mic, I'll turn it on for you, Moira. There you go. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is Moira Green. I am the General Manager of Community Futures Peace Liard.
And Scott Clerk, AVP Educational Services with Northern Lights College. Great to be here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, right. I will run the buttons. So this morning we're going to speak with you about what the Rural Community Immigration Project is, how it works, what our funding and operational situation and challenges are, what we perceive or what we are asking for as the role of local government, the order of magnitude of the project, the future, and then we are happy to take any questions.
Okay, and I'll start by providing some context to the Rural Community Immigration Pilot. Some of you are very familiar with this program, perhaps some of you are not, so I'll try and provide a full overview. The Rural Community Immigration Pilot Program is a federal immigration program that has been recently launched by Immigrations, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC, to allow rural communities across Canada the opportunity to have a targeted approach to attracting immigrants into their communities and retaining them into their communities. The program ultimately allows a designated community of which Northeast BC, including Dawson Creek of course, but stretching all the way up to Fort Nelson, is a designated community, one of 13 across Canada. And this allows employers in the region to be able to essentially sponsor and nominate somebody to permanent residency. So you can take somebody that is in a temporary status, a temporary foreign worker, someone on a work permit that they want to retain in that job, and they're able to apply through this program to support that person to access permanent residency. The federal government has been running similar programs in the past. They started first many years ago with something called the Atlantic Immigration Pilot, applying some of the same logic, giving a particular geographic region an immigration advantage. And then 5 years ago, they launched something called the Rural Northern Immigration Pilot, which was the precursor to this particular program. 2 communities in BC were selected amongst, I think, about 15 of the communities in that program, and that was North Okanagan and East Kootenay. And that program ran for 5 years and allowed employers in that region to retain many of the temporary workers that they've been able to attract into the region. This program, the RCIP, is essentially modeled on that previous pilot. And ultimately, it is now a tool in the toolbox for employers in the region to be able to attract and retain workers in our communities.
Okay. So the program, you're going to cover this one too?
Sure thing.
Yeah.
So how does the program work? And let me provide a little bit more background as well in terms of how we got here. So the call for the program launched in the spring. The city of Dawson Creek, along with many other municipalities in the region, supported a letter of support. When Community Futures and Northern Lights College prepared a submission for that program, we found out that we were successful with the program in late December. although that information was embargoed until the federal government could in fact announce the program, which came in late January. In terms of how the program works, the two co-lead organizations have formed a steering committee of kind of key local economic development players. So that includes economic development staff from local municipalities, representatives of chambers of commerce, and representatives of local organizations that support immigrant settlement. We are in the process of launching the program. We have announced it now, probably about 6 weeks ago it was announced. We're aiming to launch the program in the spring. We're going through a process of hiring a lead staff person to do much of this work. And the project itself has multiple steps. The first step, as a community or as a region, we actually have to identify key labor market needs and identify sectors and then subsectors under which we would be able to nominate a temporary resident to permanent residency. So the government has actually given us a very specific set of codes under the NOC system, the National Occupation Coding System, where we have to identify 5 priority sectors as a region and then identify 25 priority occupations under which we would be able to then nominate and retain temporary residents. There's also a level of engagement that has to be done with employers, because ultimately it is local employers that need to opt into the program and participate in the program in order to nominate and sponsor a temporary resident to permanent residence. So an individual who wants permanent residency cannot necessarily participate in this program directly. They have to do so through their employer. So the program will go through a process where we will be engaging with employers, recruiting employers to participate into the program, and then allowing employers and candidates for permanent residency to then apply into the program. The steering committee that I referred to earlier, the intention is to form a smaller nomination committee that would then review applications and make those recommendations to the Government of Canada for permanent residency. And then also importantly, on an annual basis, those sectors and subsectors of priority for our local labor market would actually be reviewed and reset. So we actually have the opportunity for each calendar year for the 5 years of the program to be able to select new sectors and new occupations for sponsorship. Okay. Thanks, Moira.
So the project structure currently is a steering committee with 2 co-chairs, Scott and myself, a project administrator, which we are in the process of hiring, accounting support, which we will be doing likely from the Community Futures office, and some premises and office support because some people need a place to land in community. The steering committee has presented for your review a simple operating plan for the project. The first year's budget is based on a single administrator with finance support and a very small travel budget. So those documents should have been in your council package. Subsequent years will have increased administrative support. What we learned is that this is based on a calendar year, not a financial year. So we're essentially starting at the beginning of Q2, which makes us, we're probably able to do this with the funding that we have for the first year. The application, which is also in your package, called for 4 full-time positions to operate the project. We've been able to trim that requirement by asking local governments to provide in-community employer support, to visit employers, vet employers, do the site visits. This has eliminated 2 full-time equivalencies and the associated cost of travel from the budget. So that's how we were able to get the budget down to the numbers that you have been presented. For the first year, we have funding from the South Peace Mackenzie Trust and from Northern Lights College for a total of $95,000. All subsequent years are currently unfunded. So local government plays a crucial role in this project because you know your community, you know your local business, you are keenly aware of the recruitment and retention concerns that each of your businesses face. You are partnered with your chambers of commerce and with other community organizations that can provide that local intelligence. You have people in the community who can be available to meet with prospective employees, and also your staff are integral to the operation of the steering committee. So we'll talk a little about the order of magnitude. The project area is the whole of the Peace River Regional District and the Northern Rockies Regional Municipality, so about 220,000 square kilometers, which is almost the size of the UK, just to put that in perspective. Annual budget requirements are estimated at about $200,000 for years 2 through 5 inclusive. The 2025 allocation for recommendations is 60. So the other two communities that have this project have 365 and 225 recommendations respectively. Our first year recommendation is 60. So we are hoping that if the project makes it to year 2, that number of recommendations, candidate recommendations, will increase exponentially. But we don't know what the subsequent years will be, and it is based on our usage and also on the Government of Canada's immigration policy at the time. The sector analysis is an annual process, which is what Scott spoke to about the NOC codes. Employers may be added and removed with each sector analysis. So just because an employer was chosen in year 1 does not mean that they are still in the program on year 2, or they may come back in year 3. Depending on what the decision is around sector analysis. We have been asked about housing and healthcare resources. The housing and healthcare resources in our communities is unlikely to be impacted. The number of recommendations certainly in the first year is low, and we anticipate that the majority of the applicants to this program, at least at the outset, are already in community. So these will not be newcomers to Canada. They are people who are here living and working in the communities that we serve. And this project can be terminated with 90 days notice, which is important when you talk about the future. So the steering committee plans to operate for the 25-6 fiscal year, so yours and ours, using the funding that's currently available. Funding requests have gone to Pacifican Northern Development Initiative Trust, South Peace Mackenzie Trust, and the Ministry of Jobs, Economic Development, and I can't remember the rest.
Innovation.
Yes. Innovation, right. Resource requests have gone to all local governments. Okay, so we're done?
Cool.
I don't know, I think it just jumped.
Okay.
There you go.
And so our promise to you is that we will decide by the end of June, so this June, what our 26-27 budget requirements are. So we have asked all those funders to either commit or not commit in time for us to bring whatever our budget shortfall is back to the region so that we can decide what the future is of the project. If we are, IT guy, are you I know that there's a screen on top of my slides.
It's
No,
gone
he's
now.
not listening.
Yeah.
Okay. If the project is unable to secure funding, so if we are unable to secure funding by December 15th, 2025, on January 2nd, 2026, we will provide notice to the Government of Canada that the project will close on March 31st, 26. And do you have any questions?
Thank you, Scott and Moira, for coming today and presenting, and I'll open it up to council first for questions here. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for the great work in this. This is a very important program for our region. I think most of us have seen the extreme need of solid, secure labor in our region for a long time. You mentioned that there are other two communities in BC that are part of this program having 5 and 6 times the amount of allotted numbers. Do you believe that is because those two communities were part of the precursor project, the northern one, and that they've already established their annual need? And hope to see our numbers increase to the same amount over the 5 years?
Yes to all of those assertions. They are bigger communities, higher population base, and they did participate in the previous 5-year project. So yes. The rest of the story is if there are unutilized allocations in any communities that we can use when we get to Q4 of the available year, we can apply for them. And we are hoping that if we're successful in keeping this project alive to years 2 to 5, that we will be able to make a case for increased allocation.
Well, can I just add that we were the only community selected as a new region in BC in this new program. It was quite a competitive process. We've heard that there were many other rural regions of BC that had applied and did not access this program.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question. Have you been in contact with the Dawson Creek Literacy Society yet with respect to this program? Because it occurs to me, knowing some of the work they do, especially with the immigrant population in town, they could be an invaluable resource as far as helping identify both employers and potential beneficiaries to this.
They are indeed a great resource. They do sit on that steering committee.
Okay, good.
As do other similar agencies from Fort St. John and Fort Nelson as well.
Nelson, yeah.
Okay. And then I guess with respect to, I mean, I think we all recognize above and beyond the labor force benefits, the need to attract new people to come live here, and that is chiefly immigrants in recent years, and it's been a great benefit to the community. With respect to the breakdown in potential funding, are we, I mean, I guess the conversation, once we get the final figure, is going to get kicked back to whether it's best funded through municipalities or through the regional district collectively. And I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Is that what you envision?
Yes, that's what we envision. We are in conversation with the regional district for exactly that reason, and it will be up to the board, is my understanding, whether this project goes to the RD or whether we approach each municipality individually. Having said that, I think it's important to note that not all businesses who will be accessing this program reside inside a municipal boundary.
Uh-huh. No, and I would expect that to be the case, as with much work around here. And I guess just my last, with reporting back on the success of this program, is that something where we'll be either receiving information from you guys or the federal government with respect to the success, the status of the program yearly, so we can kind of...
The reporting requirements through the Government of Canada are quite robust. They are setting up a portal where we'll be able to file all the information, have all the operating documents, and do the reporting. My intention certainly is to provide a version of that reporting with their approval to all the local governments in the region on probably a semi-annual basis.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Of course, thank you very much, Ms. Moira Green, of course, Scott Clerk, for doing this. Actually, from the community, especially from the immigrants, they are so thankful, at least for finally, of course, we have this project and, of course, supported them in a way because, of course, the immigration now is getting more stiff federally. So this one, even though I know this is not really a big thing to look forward to, like immigration, but at least they're having hope. So who is the right person to contact in case for employer to be designated employer?
So currently, please have people send their requests to me. I'm fielding probably 40 emails a day and maybe 15 calls a day since the announcement went out. It is our intention to hire in the next 2 weeks and then we will move the bulk of that pressure onto the new administrator. We've asked each community to maintain a running list of employer contact so that we can reach out when we're ready, when the project has stood up.
So yeah, but just keep us updated regarding this program because lots of people are depending on it, I think, and for sure. So thank you very much again, Miss Moira, and of course, Scott. Nice to see you, Scott.
Likewise.
Thank you, Councillor Apollonio. Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, apologise for the coming and going. My computer was not cooperating. There's quite a few questions I have. You referred to the Atlantic region. What tangible results can you report from that initial precursor to this program?
Well, we actually learned recently. We learned recently from our partners at IRCC that pilot program has now become a permanent immigration program. I can't speak to how many immigrants that has attracted. We haven't worked directly in that program ever, but my understanding is that it's been a success. Also, I understand that the government last year, when they announced this rural community immigration pilot, and they keep calling it a pilot, they did signal their intent to eventually find a way to turn this into a permanent program so that rural communities in Canada would have a permanent route to attracting newcomers.
Yeah, so that's I think it's a reasonable inference to make that it was successful if it's now permanent, yeah. So I'm a little confused about this. I heard in the presentation, and I may have missed things that you said, so I do apologize. The local people will be, the people who already reside here. So these are local people working in this region right now who are having problems getting immigration status. Correct?
Yeah, roughly. So examples of these people would be somebody who came to Canada on a temporary work permit.
Yeah.
Another example might be somebody who came to Canada as an international student to the college, graduated, and then was able to access a work permit. So these are examples of people that could then be sponsored for permanent residence.
They need sponsoring.
By their employer, yes.
By their employer.
For this particular program.
Right. So what are the impediments that these people are experiencing? I just don't understand some aspects of this. So somebody's gone through what you have quite a collection of people from different parts of the world in your program. So they graduate, they presumably have an employer. So what is the problem? They're getting status. Is it an administrative bureaucracy that needs navigating, or is there something else?
I would call it a question of competition. So all of these people that would apply through this program would also have access to the mainstream permanent residency process,
Right.
Which is a highly competitive process, which many local people that are in jobs that perhaps aren't classified as high in that NOx system. They don't get enough points towards permanent residency, and therefore they might not be able to access it. And so a program like this gives a small rural community a particular advantage so that a local person can go through the mainstream if they'd like anywhere else in Canada, and also you have this additional pathway to retain more of those people.
So you're saying they can bypass describe that more vividly to me.
If I may, the rest of the systems are based on skills and abilities and requirements nationally. This system is allowing us as a small rural community to encourage the people who are here or who are coming here to remain in our communities permanently. So if the new graduate from Northern Lights College with their business administration diploma or designation is working in a business here in Dawson Creek, and they're competing against a mechanical engineer who's going to a corporation in Calgary from the Ukraine, then those points are not on a level playing field. That's what this is about. This is about retaining labor in rural communities. And back to your question about the efficacy of the program, the Vernon project, and if one of your administration reminds me, we'll provide the annual report to council, has numbers. They publish annual numbers in an annual report, and I believe that their success over the 5 years that they ran the previous project was in the neighborhood of 600 permanent residencies for that region. So we're happy to provide you with the link to that report if someone, I will not remember after I leave the doorway, so.
Okay, so thank you. I get a better picture now, thank you. It states here in the slide, funding and operations, the application calls for 4 full-time positions to operate the project. We have trimmed that requirement by asking for the support of local government to provide in-community employer vetting. So has there been a response from this city? If so, I've missed it.
No, there hasn't been a response. So with a 4-person project, the budget cost for the project turns into the magnitude of $450,000 to $500,000 a year.
Right.
Because those people would need to visit businesses in Chetwynd and Tumbler Ridge and Fort Nelson. And by asking for the support of the local government, the economic development staff or someone who you designate can be the person who goes to visit the business. The reason that the business needs to be visited is because we need to ensure that they meet the criteria, that they're a bona fide business, that their operation is what they say they are. This kind of project is the kind of project where there are bad actors. And one of the criteria of the project is to ensure that the businesses that we are working with and the people who we are recommending to Canada for this project are who they say they are doing what they said they were doing, and that we're meeting the criteria of the project.
Yeah, I can see the need for that, for sure. So we will be getting a request from staff about a FTE necessary to do that work?
Yes.
Is that...
In your package, you've been presented with a memorandum of understanding between the project and the local government asking for exactly that.
Okay. Now, you only have a budget for 1 year. Have you got a sort of a picture of what subsequent budgets might look like?
You have also in your package a draft operational plan, which shows 3 options for operational funding. The recommended option is option 3, which presents you with a minimal budget for year 1, and then a small increase in administrative support for year 2, and then full administrative support for years 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, thank you.
You good? Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Councillor MacDonald, you're good? Councillor MacDonald?
Yeah, I just wanted to also add to Councillor Parslow's question there. The federal government only allots so many immigration positions each year. It does become highly competitive to the point where so many of the positions end up in major urban centers, disproportionately so that those of us who have a greater need because of our smaller workforce and our much lower unemployment rate aren't able to access the numbers we truly need. And that's where this project comes in, where it designates more of the allotted numbers already into rural settings instead of being gobbled up by the major urban centers. Speaking of experience, so many of my employees just cannot make the point minimums due to wage, due to skill, perceived skill, perceived wage. The numbers aren't given to us to be able to compete competitively. We have so many great employers and the college specifically, who are helping bring in wonderful members of our community who build roots here, who we just lose. We get these wonderful, young, educated, diverse people in our community, but we watch them leave to major urban centers, other provinces, because we just can't compete with the point values up here that get eaten up by the Vancouvers, the Edmontons, the Calgarys, even the Okanagan, all of them, right? I think it's very disappointing that the other two northern communities are in the southern half of the province, right? I think it's very, very disappointing. But we need programs like this for our local workforce to be competitive in attracting these amazing members of our community to stay permanently. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Any other discussion? No. Councillor Parslow.
Well, I just want to add to what my colleague just said. I remember with you having lunch in Chetwynd and learning vividly someone other than your business, the problems they were having, and I must say that it was a bit heart-wrenching. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good people, challenge not only for the employer but for them and their security. So I understand that, and the answer to my question also painted a very vivid. I apologize for your presentation. I didn't see I skipped the package. It was attached to this. I usually look for it further down. I don't usually look at the slideshow until I come here. So thank you, and I apologize for that.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Any other discussion? I have a few questions, but first I just want to thank both of you for coming in today, but also thank you for pushing this program forward. I was seeing a lot of the work that went into it originally to get to it, so it's definitely appreciative, and it's not just a benefit to this municipality or region, it's for the whole Northeast. So I just want to thank you for your time, and I know Scott, you spent a lot of hours, and I know Moira did too, and everybody, so thank you. I understand the program fairly well. I guess my thing is originally we sent a letter of support because we wanted to. Now we're learning more about the program as well as you are. So it's just really understanding what that funding picture looks like. So there's obviously a commitment that's coming from this that you're asking for the city. So I guess I want to understand that. So you've cut it back so that municipalities will cover some of the roles to have the funding less. So the $200,000 a year, are you looking for funding from municipalities for that as well? Because also, like, when you take into the staff consideration, we don't have an economic development officer, but by the looks of it initially, it's going to be like a half to a full-time position. So or even a half-time, right? So it's just really understanding that so that we can make a proper decision. And I know some of that will come back when staff looks, but yeah, just wanted to kind of.
Okay, you go first.
I'll start. I just want to start, and I should have said that in my introduction. The opportunity provided by the federal government is the designation of your region for this pilot program to have that advantage to sponsor people for immigration, but did not come with any funding attached. So essentially, the federal government said, okay, you can have it if you self-fund, right? And so it's upon the region to self-fund the program. The college has put forward some of our operational dollars towards it, and thankfully South Peace Mackenzie Trust, and that's gotten us off for the first year. But we do have a particular funding model. I'll pass it to Moira to get into that further.
Right. So we have reached out to all of the funders that we have at our disposal to try and get the project fully funded. If the project is not fully funded, then what we will do in June, because we understand the municipal local government budget cycle, we will come back to you in June and say, this is the commitment that we have. This is the shortfall. This is what it looks like as a per capita allocation across the population of the Peace River Regional District and Northern Rockies Regional Municipality. Then your job is to take that back to your budget deliberations and then advise us by the 15th of December 2025 whether we're going to be able to fund the project. If we are unable to fund the project on January 2nd, 2026, we will provide notice to Canada that we are unable to fund the project, and it will close in 90 days.
Okay. So when you say you have lots or multiple people to ask for the funding or avenues, are you referring to municipalities, or is there
No.
other sources?
Pacific Can, NDIT,
Okay.
South Peace Mackenzie Trust, JEDI.
Okay.
That's where we're going first. Second, we will come back to municipalities and say what our shortfall is.
Okay.
And that decision then goes into your budget deliberations for
Yeah.
your 26-7 budget year. What we are asking is that you make the decision by the 15th of December so that we can make the decision to Canada. Because if we don't give them 90 days notice, then we are unable to fund a project that they're expecting us to deliver, and that may have legal implications.
Okay. Thank you. And then obviously this is Northeast BC, so are all the municipalities involved in this and supportive? Have you, and I guess, is this the first municipality that you've met with?
So we do not have letters of support from everyone, but every municipality and local government in the region has received the same package that you received.
Okay.
When we submitted the proposal, and granted, we had maybe about 2 or 3 weeks to put all of that together, we did receive letters of support from the city of Dawson Creek, the city of Fort St. John, the PRRD, and Fort Nelson. So the, I never get that acronym right, but the Northern Rockies.
Yeah, Northern
Yeah.
Rockies, yeah. Okay, so then, I guess today, like you're bringing this to educate us, obviously, but is it, so there's no real direct ask today? It's more going to be in June when you kind of understand your funding, or is there a direct ask today?
We are asking for your support of the memorandum of understanding for in-community support of staff, and no, it will not be a full-time job.
Okay,
So the way we're thinking about it is, once we get the occupation codes nailed down, let's say there are 20 employers in Dawson Creek that fit that criteria. Those employers then need to go through an application project, which comes back to the steering committee. If the application makes it past the steering committee, then we are asking for a member of your team to physically go visit that business.
okay, just initially to make sure that it's all.
Well, and so they visit it, they make sure that they are who they say they are. We take a look at their corporate filings, we make sure that CRA is not after them, we do those things. When and if they have a recommendation that is successful, there will be a follow-up visit to make sure that the person that was recommended actually works there. Like, so this
Yeah.
is 2 hours per business over the period of 8 months, and there may be 20 of them.
Okay. So, and then the memorandum of understanding, when are you hoping to have those? I mean, it's obviously fairly lengthy and something that, we would have to look into, obviously, but is that something that you're wanting before June, or?
Oh,
like
yes.
what-
We would like that at your next available meeting. This project is supposed to stand up on April 1st.
Okay.
So that means that will be when we will start taking employer applications from all of the communities in the region.
Okay. All right, I don't think I have any more questions currently. I think as we go down this more, there'll be more that'll come up, but, Councillor MacDonald, did you want to?
Thank you, Worship. In your list of funding requests, have you thought about a gaming grant?
No.
I'm not too sure if it would apply to the program or not, but I would think that would be a good avenue to at least investigate,
Yeah, we can certainly look into that.
right? And you mentioned before about a community like a city employee or designate? What do you mean by designate?
So if the City of Dawson Creek wants to engage the Chamber of Commerce Executive Director to do this work, that is entirely up to you. Or if you want to engage a member of the local settlement agency to do this work, also up to you. The key, I think, is that the project can't support that funding.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Councillor MacDonald. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in today. And yeah, I appreciate all your efforts that went into this and look forward to seeing where it goes. So thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You bet. Thank you. You too. All right, our next order of business, we have 2.3. We have Glenda Farden, Senior Municipal Relations Liaison with Stars Foundation in attendance regarding annual update. So, good morning, Glenda, and welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel so little now.
Oh, do you? Put a bigger chair, I'd bring it over for you. But there you go. The floor is all yours, so thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to bring you your annual update as well. There we go. Thank you very much. This year, STARS celebrates 40 years of being in service, and as a charitable model, always maintaining that there is no bill to the patient. And for someone that, you know, may be experiencing the worst day in their entire lives. So we are ecstatic to have reached this major milestone as we look forward to the future. And we certainly, for the northern region, this will be our 19th year for STARS Grand Prairie, which serves your residents and area. You are part of the Peace River Regional District grant that has been in place to support the northern base for all these 19 years. So we are very grateful to each and every one of you that participates that each year and have provided that sustainability for our northern base that serves your residents. So a little bit on the funding model now. We are very excited that we have now finalized another long-term 10-year affiliation agreement in place with Alberta Health Services. So this is now giving us block funding of $15 million per year, which represents 44% of our operational budget for the 3 bases in Alberta, Grand Prairie serving your residents. This still leaves us 56% of operational costs that must be fundraised each year. A key part of that is our STARS Lottery, which is underway right now in Alberta as we speak. And it usually provides net funds to pay for 1 base in Alberta, so roughly $11 million net per year. So it's a significant part of our sustainability. A little bit of a year in review. Our Emergency Link Center located in Calgary is our dispatch center, and they receive over 37,000 emergency requests each year. So they field a lot of different calls. STARS is the dedicated critical care provider in Alberta, and then also serves the eastern corridor of BC, northern and southern. Last year, we flew over 3,900 missions across our 6 bases across Western Canada. We have now topped 60,000 missions flown since inception, averaging 102 emergency requests per day and averaging 11 missions flown each day. On the right-hand side, you'll see some incident types. So if we just kind of round up a bit, you know, just for ease, about 20% is cardiac and 20% would be vehicle incident, 20% would be other medical issues, including stroke. And so, you know, it's really key to understand that our services are for critical nature. So this is going to be a little bit of a series of showing you where we're at now across northeastern BC, which is Peace River Regional District, as well as across the province of Alberta for municipal support, regular funding of our municipal program, which you are a part of as well. So this shows you currently where we're at now with municipalities that are on board, but they are not currently at the minimum $2 per capita or higher that we have been requesting, but they are a municipal partner. Now this shows you all of those that are on the municipal program that are regional leaders, including yourselves, that are giving a minimum $2 per capita or higher, up to $90 per capita in total per year. So this is really significant, sustainable funding for STARS operations. 9 provincial leaders, which include Peace River Regional District as well. So the Peace River Regional District logo is included on the STARS helicopter. So all 9 provincial leaders have logo representation on the STARS helicopter. And the red outlines show complete regional support within boundaries. So all of these that you see, including Peace River Regional District, represents that every area within your boundaries is a supporter of STARS. So it really does show that the united partnership across the entire region and northeastern BC ensures that we have robust health and safety network for all. So this is a 15-year overview now of missions flown within Peace River Regional District. So back to 2010, we actually started in Grand Prairie in December 2006. And there were some initial missions in early 2007 for your area as well. But this goes back to 2010. So showing you for Dawson Creek Hospital in critical interfacility transfers as well as local scene calls in your area. So 71 in total over the last 15 years. 236 total missions flown within Peace River Regional District and area. So now it's important to understand that scene calls and search and rescue are also all coded to the nearest community of occurrence. So some actual mission locations may be identified through lat and long in order to identify that each of these occurrences did fall within Peace River Regional District boundaries. This is an update on the postal code project. So we'll look on the left-hand side first. 73 total residents with one of the resident communities listed there were flown by STARS. 33 of them were Dawson Creek residents. So that's approximately half. Out of the 73 residents, 33 were Dawson Creek residents. 24 of the 73 in total were actually picked up in Dawson Creek. 49 of these residents were flown from 22 other locations across 2 provinces. So when you look at the right-hand side, the red dots represent all of the different areas that these residents were picked up and flown by STARS. It really is a testament to the fact that accidents and illness can happen anywhere, and it's a testament to the value of our partnership for your residents, that they may be flown by STARS all across Western Canada, where we have our 6 bases. So I wanted to give you a little bit of an insight into the fact that STARS is borderless. We are 6 bases across Western Canada, averaging 11 missions per day. But we have many days that is over and above 11 missions. This particular day was showing 18 different dispatches. Now, just to give you a sense of what it is like for our STARS crew, you can look at the description and see many different critical situations. These are all happening in one day. You'll see the different STARS bases that were dispatched, as well as whether it was a critical interfacility transfer or a scene call. But the disposition shows you all those that a patient was transported by STARS. Number 3, it was for an NICU critical neonatal baby. So we brought the neonatal team with us, and that little baby went by ground ambulance with the specialty team. The next one is NMR, meaning that as we got further information, then it was not medically required. So our transport physicians made that determination, and we were turned around to be ready for the next critical mission. Or alternate transport, where it was decided again that maybe fixed wing was a better option, so we were turned around. Or number 10 was out of Grand Prairie, where that particular patient could not be flown. And so our team went with that patient by ground ambulance. So we can go on all modes of transport. There is a brand new medication as well for hemorrhage control now. We were the very first HEMS organization in North America to bring on board, more than 10 years ago now, carrying universal blood on board. We've seen so many severe trauma cases now that we've increased that from 2 units of blood to carrying 4 units of blood now. And now with this new medication, fibrinogen, for hemorrhage control, when we are faced with these really serious patients that have a determination to bleed out, after giving the first 2 units of blood, then we can now apply the fibrinogen, which helps that patient to build blood clots, and then we can apply the second 2 units of blood while we're en route to tertiary care. So once again, really, it's a significant advancement for these types of patients. And of course, after 37 years, we flew our longest mission, and it was for Peace River Regional District patient as well. Up in the Chi House area, Doug McTavish, he had a major heart attack. It occurred at night, so we were the only resource that was able to reach him. It was on a river bank area. We were able to identify where we could land and to locate the patient. The tracks you'll see are where the Emergency Link Center determined all the different areas that we needed to refuel, and they made all of the arrangements so that we could have that chance to refuel at Fort Nelson, go to Chi House, locate the patient in the dark, stabilize him, get him on board, then had to fly to Watson Lake for fueling, back to Fort Nelson to top up in order to make the long trek back. More than 2,400 liters of fuel used, 1,700 kilometers flown, 8.2 total flight hours. More importantly, more than 5 hours in the air managing a very critical patient. 1 life saved. He was reunited with his Grand Prairie crew, him and his family. And it really, again, is a testament to our mission, providing critical care anywhere. So in closing, I would like to say thank you very much, City of Dawson Creek. Through the Peace River Regional District grant that we have been receiving from you now for 19 years. You are a provincial leader, you are a regional leader. We thank you, and we thank you so much for being able to be here in the north, serve your residents. We can now not only provide physical response, but as well as virtual care, which is a key component for your hospital and area, being able to now have virtual care, providing medical and procedural guidance to your local medical professionals. So again, it's an enhancement for rural health care. We can't do it without you. Partnership has provided this for the whole 40 years that we've been in service. So thank you again. A life is saved every day, but it's partnership that's made it possible.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Glenda, very much for coming here. And yeah, it's always nice to see you and hear your presentations. It's such a valuable thing that STARS offers to the whole region, and and more than us. So, and congratulations on 40 years. That's exciting news.
Thank you very much.
It's pretty amazing to see how it's come in that time. So it's yeah, so, and amazing. We actually, just in the last couple of weeks, the STARS was used just on the Alberta side here to a local resident too that used the STARS service as well. So it's, yeah, it's huge for our area. So thank you.
Thank you.
Council, have any questions? Councillor Parslow?
Yes, you talked about provincial leaders, but I mean, it must be recognized as well that STARS is a world leader in this sort of work. I mean, previous presentations we've had, I was amazed to hear how in different competitions, I guess it was, how STARS was the number one, I think, in either the developed world or the world. It doesn't matter. It's an outstanding service. And I think we're very fortunate in this. One of the questions I always ask, just to get an update, we have a new hospital being built here. Mm-hmm. We had a new hospital completed in Fort St. John a few years ago. And the interface between STARS and local hospitals in Northern Health is somewhat made more difficult, I understand, by the fact that there's no helicopter pads. Mm-hmm. Family I have in the other parts of British Columbia, two of them have been helicoptered, BC ambulance, direct to the hospital, landed right at the hospital. In Alberta, what is the normal pattern? Do most hospitals in Alberta, when STARS is interfacing with them, do they have a designated helicopter pad in Alberta?
The majority of the hospitals do. I've worked more recently with some of the communities that did not have, and there's certain, under Alberta Health Services criteria, there's certain criteria that has to be met if they are to look at possibly helping to fund helipad. I have worked with a few communities now that they did not meet the criteria, so the community itself took it on and helipads were built. It's really important when you're dealing with critical patients, the less patient movements is really essential as far as, especially not only are you dealing with sometimes inclement weather, all kinds of things, you might be having freezing IV lines, all kinds of other, if you're dealing with a patient that is intubated, there's, always that chance for dislodgement and injury as well. So it's really important when you can save precious time, alleviate extra transfers. We do not have to tie up your other resources as well when there is a designated helipad. Then we can land there without tying up any of your other resources so that they are available for other emergency calls. And we're going from patient, either from scene to bed or bed to bed, depending if it's a transfer from a rural hospital to a higher tertiary care center. So it really is essential if you're looking at your long-range plan for your community in this day and age to have helipads.
Exactly. Thank you for what you said. I've been arguing that point ever since I've been on council. It seems absolutely bizarre. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.
Well, in the interest of critical patients, I think it's really essential. And not looking at, like a rooftop helipad. It's really, really costly. Just a ground pad.
Right.
is all you need.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parcel. Any questions? I just had one. You were mentioning earlier that Southeast BC as well now uses STARS?
We have been serving Southeastern BC since the beginning of STARS because the Calgary base was the very first base. I did make a presentation to the Regional District of East Kootenay and asking for them to join as a leader like yourselves and help to start, but we were turned down.
Oh, okay. I was wondering when you said that, and then in your map of funding, it didn't have them, so that's why I was curious. Okay, that makes sense. Well, Yeah, I mean, thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming in, and congratulations again to yourself and the
Well,
whole
thank
team
you.
at STARS, and I'm sure I'll see you
Appreciate
at
it.
the regional district in the near future as well. so,
Absolutely. I will
yeah.
be there for I'm going to be making my rounds through the spring to all of the other districts.
Yeah.
And then we will follow up with a new request to Peace River Regional District in the fall. But if I may, to Councillor Parslow's
Oh, yeah.
comments about, just as an update as well, when I had presented about I'm sorry, it just escapes me now, for the competition, the international competition that we have competed in before. So we have competed 22 years straight now. And of those 22 years, we've been top 3 in the world all 22 years. And last year in October, again, we placed first place once again. So we're very excited. And that particular team are now 2-time champions as well. So 8 in total first place champions as well. So I hope that it's of value to you and your residents that we are bringing the highest level of critical care available.
Oh, absolutely. Hands down, it's critical for our community and region, and it absolutely is.
Well, thank you for your partnership.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you very much, Glenda.
Thank you. I brought you the latest 40th anniversary calendar and
perfect.
the latest newsletter. So, and a set for your fire department. Please pass that on. We can't do what we do best without them.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I
Okay,
agree.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to call a 2-minute break here. Monday, March 10th, back to order. Next order business, 2.4, we have Jennifer Moore, Executive Director, Northeast Regional Community Foundation in attendance regarding update on Northeast British Columbia Community Foundation. Great to see you, Jennifer, and welcome. Yeah, well,
It's a mouthful, isn't it? I will start with, I think I know most folks. My name's Jennifer Moore. I've been with the foundation for about 18 months. And we've been a little remiss in coming and chatting with you and giving you an update on the foundation as a whole, as well as the Dawson Creek Community Endowment Fund that is held with us specific for your community. Right. So just a little background on a community foundation. We are a charitable nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the communities within our region. It creates an opportunity for our members to contribute time, leadership, financial support to local initiatives. Nothing against organizations like the Heart and Stroke Foundation. They do really important work. This is an opportunity to have really localized impact. So the mission for our organization is to enrich the quality of life in our region by providing meaningful ways to create endowment funds, supporting organizations through grants, and promoting philanthropy. So endowment funds, for those of you who don't know, are funds that are invested, and the idea behind them is that the principal investment is never touched. The investment income that is made off of them is what is reinvested in the community. We also create an opportunity for locals to, instead of leaving bequests in their wills to, say, the Heart and Stroke Foundation, I should probably stop picking on them. Move it around, pick on some other organizations. And like I said, they do very important work. But we have that conversation with folks about they want their money to make a difference in their own community, and the Community Foundation creates that opportunity. So a little bit about the foundation. We are governed by a volunteer board of directors. We have quarterly meetings. We do our best to have quarterly meetings. And we have representation from across the region. We have good representation from the Dawson Creek area. I'm on the road show, much like the previous 2 presenters, and so that community lens is really important. I am a part-time, and I will tell you I am super part-time, executive director We have some space in the Community Futures office here in Dawson Creek. And as a registered charity with CRA, we produce audited financial statements each year. So we've got those three areas of focus. We provide grants to qualified donees, which is CRA speak for a list of organizations, typically other charities, but not exclusive to other charities. Municipalities, local governments also are on that list of qualified donees. And so our foundation is quite young. You'll see some numbers in a future slide here. And so our grants are not super big, but where I think the Community Foundation really plays a role in supporting that nonprofit sector in our communities is in capacity building, and there's lots of hands-on assistance and applications, not just for our grants, but also other funding sources. We want nonprofits. They're really passionate about their mandate, and the plight of the nonprofit is the never-ending search for funding. So to have that support in sourcing other funds and another set of eyes to look at funding applications and make some suggestions is I think part of the value that we offer. We also manage and grow our funds. I can tell you, since I've started with the foundation, our investments were approximately just shy of $500,000, and I have not logged in the last few days because I'm a little bit scared. Not going to lie, I see what my personal stuff is doing, but our funding, our investments are growing upwards towards $800,000. And the last piece is the community involvement. So not just community involvement at our board table, but also the engagement with the nonprofit sector. That's really, those nonprofit organizations are really who's building the social fabric of our communities. They do vital work for us. So the foundation as a whole, we are 15 years old. We were started in 2009, started dispersing our first funds in 2015. CRA gives you a little bit of a window to grow your money a bit before you start, you have a requirement to start dispersing it. So between our own funds and funds that we have been contracted to deliver out, we've given out nearly $500,000 in funds across the region. We've supported 55 projects. We have 6 endowment funds, and I always love this part. So we have Dawson Creek, Pooskoopie, Taylor, Hudson's Hope, Chetwynd, and we have a nonprofit that started a fund with us to support women in the region furthering their education. We've done 4 flow-through accounts. When the foundation first started, there was a flow-through account around the Calvin Crux Center. There was a flow-through account with the Chetwynd Library recently, a memorial fund for a longstanding community member there. And so the investments, like I said, I haven't logged in the last couple of days. So the investments are about $750,000 when I wrote the presentation. It's best if I don't log in every day.
Yeah.
So some of the Dawson Creek numbers, Dawson Creek holds an independent fund with us. It was an investment of $50,000 from the city of Dawson Creek that was then leveraged with a $50,000 matching fund from Northern Development. Now, I will tell you, the fund is held with us. It's a donation, so the money is ours now, and the purpose is clear. It's to support organizations and efforts in Dawson Creek. So we have given out almost $260,000 between our funds as well as other funds like the Community Prosperity Fund, the Emergency Services Recovery Fund, the Community Services Recovery Fund. There was a lot of COVID funds that came through the foundation from organizations like the federal government and the provincial government. The great part about that was instead of those decisions being made in some faraway land by people who don't understand our community, it was given to us because we have a better sense of where the need is. Some of that fund, a good chunk of that funding went to food bank supports across our region, which it makes me sad that we need to have these things in our community, but thankful that we had some funding that we could use to support that. One of the projects that was recently funded was a ramp so that the food bank was actually accessible for folks. Which doesn't seem like a big thing until you have an accessibility challenge. So, first off, you're challenged in getting the food that you need to support your family, but secondly, you can't actually get there because it's inaccessible to you. So, anyhow. The current value of the Dawson Creek Fund is $163,820. Once a year, we do the update on the fund when we do our annual audit. And so any money that is not distributed through our annual grant process, we do 2 intakes, is then reinvested in so it can continue to make more money. We have funded 16 projects in Dawson Creek across 12 different organizations. And that dispersion of funds, that it's not 16 projects to 3 organizations, is something that I'm really proud of, that we're spreading the money out. And I also think it's important that we do not create the space where organizations become super reliant on individual funding sources. Now, I would be remiss if I did not take the opportunity to talk about the opportunity for individuals, organizations to set up funds with the community foundation that benefit the local community. It can be individuals, it can be businesses, it can be groups, and really, as long as there's a charitable purpose to it, we work with donors across a variety of different purposes and intentions. And really, it's a way to leave a legacy in a community that has lasting impact. So I have one ask of the City of Dawson Creek is we have good representation on our board from a Dawson Creek perspective, but we would like to be included on your website. That way your nonprofits and your qualified donees as another funding source. So that's all I have to say.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer, for coming and presenting. It's very educational to learn a bit more, and I appreciate that. And the nonprofits, like you said, they're our community, right? So it's really amazing. So thank you. Councillor Parslow.
Do you have a business card?
Somewhere. Yes.
Could you leave one for me? I
sure
have a
can.
number of things I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
It's important, and I'm involved in a few things that you've stimulated some thoughts in my mind. So
Okay.
please leave your business card with someone on staff, and I'll arrange a meeting with you. Thank you.
Wonderful. If it's not my foundation business card, I wear a few hats. It will have a number on it that will get you to me.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow.
And I'm not certain if the annual report was included in your package, but I will leave a copy of it, send it electronically, whatever your wishes are.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you can leave it or send it electronically. Either is fine. So, any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for coming in today, and for all you're doing to help the community. It's much appreciated. So, like I said earlier, it was just nice to learn a bit more about what you do. So thank you for the education.
The intention is to be here with a greater degree of consistency. So annually, I'd like to come and give you an update and talk about the projects that we've funded in the community and some of the work that we're continuing to do.
That would be amazing. So
Yeah.
thank you. Perfect. Well, thank you for taking the time. Have a nice day,
Thank you.
Jennifer. All right, our next order of business is 2025 strategic priority chart. 3.1, 3.2, there was some updates made to the strategic priorities just based on the meetings that we had, but on the quarterly meeting, which will probably be in March and April, there'll be a report on that. So any questions? Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, well, I was looking for the changes that were made, right? Like community safety, was that the title that we gave to it, Mayor?
I believe.
Because I was looking for a separate you've got some nice graphics here, and I was looking for, we've got like vibrant downtown, few other, I forget the titles of the others, but I thought we would have another addition to that 5-star. I'll put it up here. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I was just added.
And then I was looking through the list where the action plan was, and I couldn't find it, but it was a cursory look. So I'd like to know where it is so I can look at it.
Yeah, pass it over to Ryan.
Hi, through your worship. So the addition was added under building and strengthening relationships. So my glasses are, the third bullet, cultivate a supportive and resilient community by implementing initiatives that prioritize safety, promote health, and address the challenges associated with the homelessness. And then I think that what you'll see is on our next quarterly, I'm going to use the word update in terms of the strategic priority Gantt chart, right? It'll list out some of those initiatives that you're talking about.
Yeah, thank you. I can see why you put it under that heading. I was just looking for, expecting another heading, but why? So I'll look for that under that building and strengthening relationships. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Parslow. Thanks, Ryan. All right, any other questions on strategic priorities? No. All right, any next order of business? 4 late items. I don't believe there's any late items. No. 5 new councillor business. 5.1, we have memo from Councillor MacDonald regarding streamlining resource development and balancing emissions for prosperous and sustainable future NCLGA resolution. Councillor MacDonald.
Thank you, Worship. Since submitting these 2 resolutions, it was brought to my attention that the initiation for these resolutions came from a letter from CAP that was sent to myself and Councillor Sudnick after attending a CAP roundtable at the Natural Resources Forum in Prince George. That letter was also sent out to the PRRD, and they have initiated creating these resolutions themselves and are going to call on ourselves to provide them with a letter of support. So I would like to suggest that instead of moving forward with these 2 resolutions ourselves, that we as a council just wait for them to come from the PRRD and then support them at that, or vote on supporting them at that time.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Councillor MacDonald, and thank you for your efforts putting in the time that went into both of these and to
I had great help from staff.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, staff.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, and then just so everybody's aware, as those recommendations will come through from the Peace River Regional District, it will then come back to us for letters of support, and NCLGA has a template on that. So there's more value to NCLGA when they get more letters of support. So that's why. So any other questions? No? Thank you again. Any other new councillor business? Councillor MacDonald?
Yeah, on 5.2 there for crime prevention officer position.
I thought those were combined. Sorry. 5.2, we have memo from Councillor MacDonald regarding creation of regional crime prevention officer positions for rural BC and NCLGA resolution. So sorry about that.
No, that's all right. Just speaking to this one, further to the background information, there used to be crime prevention officers in many communities just through regular staffing of the RCMP. They had an abundance of staff where they were able to have a more, have this role in their communities to do crime prevention with the different groups, like your crime prevention associations, your block parents, et cetera, et cetera. In the last 10 years, obviously, we've watched the RCMP have the inability to fulfill all the positions required of them, and this was one of the things that was cut from their efforts. And the purpose of this motion is just to find a way to help find funding for rural communities and rural regions within the province to have that crime prevention officer become not necessarily an RCMP position, but more of a civilian position, just to help liaise between local detachments and crime prevention associations in supporting each other, just to create more public awareness, public safety, et cetera, et cetera. So I just ask for support of the resolution from council to take it forward.
Could you put the motion forward, please, Councillor?
Oh, shoot.
I can do it if you don't have
Sure,
it ready.
thank
Okay.
you.
That council authorizes the following resolution to the 2025 North Central Local Government Association AGM and Convention to be hosted in Prince Rupert from May 12th to 15th, 2025. Have a second? Councillor Earl, any discussion? Oh, do you want it all read? The background information? Okay. So the creation of the Regional Crime Prevention Officer position for rural BC, City of Dawson Creek.
I have it up now if you want me to read it.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Worship.
Go ahead, Councillor MacDonald.
So creation of a regional crime prevention officer positions for rural BC from the city of Dawson Creek. Whereas crime prevention and community safety are essential to the well-being of all residents, and urban centers have dedicated crime prevention resources, including specialized officers. And whereas rural communities in British Columbia face unique challenges related to limited law enforcement resources and the absence of specialized crime prevention officers. And whereas the establishment of regional crime prevention officer positions would enhance community safety, improve coordination of crime prevention efforts, and support local law enforcement in rural areas. Now therefore be it resolved that NCLGA and UBCM advocate to the provincial government for the funding and creation of regional crime prevention officer positions in rural British Columbia to enhance community safety, improve coordination of crime prevention efforts, and support local law enforcement in addressing crime in rural areas.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do you want to, Councillor MacDonald, make the motion? Somebody like to second that? Councillor Kempf? Any discussion? No? I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Any other new councillor business? All right, next order of business, 6, adoption of minutes. 6.1, we have minutes of the regular meeting of council held on February 24th, 2025 for adoption. Councillor Sudnick, second Councillor Kempf. I'll call that to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Any business arising? All right, next order of business, 8, correspondence. We have 8.1, letter from Judy Eagles, principal, Dawson Creek Secondary School, received on February 3rd, 2025, regarding a request to host the 2025 graduation ceremony, dry grad, and prom in the Ovintiv Event Center. Councillor Parslow.
Well, I'm going to spice things up here. I would like to move that all items 8.1 to 8.7 be approved as presented and all requests granted.
Tab's shaking his head no.
No, they're too,
I thought I'd try.
I won't even accept the motion because they're too different, so thank you, though.
I mean, so anyway.
8.1.
I'll do
Councillor Parslow.
8.1, which is an annual request, which we always approve, that the request from the principal of Dawson Creek Secondary School waiving the Ovintiv Centre rental fees for this community graduation event be granted.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio. Discussion. This maybe just to you, Ryan. Did with the fees and stuff, that there was some adjustments made. I know this is one of that recommended, but have the fees for this went up as well?
Through your worship, it has gone up. The event has grown, or the event has grown, the graduation has grown, and so it's encompassing of 5 days now. And that includes setup, tear down, all those additional things, but also the additional spaces within facility. But also that the amount has not, I'm going to say, increased since 2014. So it's been the same amount since 2014, and so this is the year of the, I'm going to call it the adjustment for that.
Okay, thank you. What is the adjustment?
I think it went up $2,000.
Okay.
But the adjustment is not just because of the value of it, but it's also in recognition of the value, the length, et cetera. So there's a multiple aspect to it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 8.2, letter from Taylor Mills, Executive Director, Dawson Creek Art Gallery, received on February 19th, 2025, regarding a request for donation for the 42nd Annual Art Auction. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I make a motion, I would ask a question through you to staff with respect to what we've done for the art auction in previous years.
I don't know if we have. No, I don't think we have.
Is this first time we're?
Yeah. First time we were, well, within the last while.
I'm just wondering what would be appropriate for an art auction, whether we do what we sometimes do for these events and gift basket or gift certificates for community amenities or what have you.
We could do like
Unless you wanna paint something?
Yeah. It will go for not a lot of value, so the purpose of this
You
is
never know.
fundraising. Tab, go ahead.
Through your worship, to Councillor Earl's question, in the past, we donated silent auction items that included two $250 community services vouchers. If that's something you would like to do, that's fine. Or there's also promotional items that we can donate. If that's the course that council would like to take, I just ask that you include up to a certain amount. If you want to donate up to $250, we can make a basket of promotional items or go the route of community services, whatever council.
Was that recently?
I believe it was last year. But this says
Okay, well, I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You get a lot and they kind of blend into one another.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked. Okay, well, I'd move we once again donate two $250 gift certificates for community recreational services.
Thank you,
As
Councillor Earl. Do I have a
recently.
second? Councillor Sudnick. Any discussion? No? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 8.3, letter from John Vetter, President, South Peace District Crime Prevention Association, received on February 27th, 2025, regarding a request for sponsorship for annual fundraising golf tournament. Okay, thank you, Councillor McDonald. Did you pull your card out?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Do you know what we gave last year?
Through your worship, we donated $250, and I believe it might have been promotional items. Just cash? Cash.
Cash, okay, sponsorship, okay. Would anybody like to make a? Councillor Earl, thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that we once again donate $250 cash.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Earl, second. Councillor Kemp, any discussion? No. I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. You can go. All right, next we have 8.4. We have a letter from the grant writer, City of Dawson Creek, received on March 10th, 2025, regarding a request for resolution of support for application to BC Air Access Program de-icing truck. Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the resolution that the City of Dawson Creek supports the grant application to the BC Air Access Program's Aviation Infrastructure Fund for a grant of up to $324,000 to support the purchase of a de-icing truck for the Dawson Creek Regional Airport. Further, that the city commits to a contribution not exceeding 10% of the total project budget to cover any expenses not funded by this grant.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick. Discussion. Okay, I'll call this motion. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, we have 8.5. We have a letter from grant writer, City of Dawson Creek, received on March 10th, 2025, regarding a request for resolution of support for application to BC Air Access Program Security Fence. Councillor Earl, go ahead. Or have you,
No, I'll do it.
All right,
I didn't
sure if you were
realize.
offering or not, but
Well, I was going to pull a Charlie and do the last three. Like my 7-year-old cleans a room, just shoves everything into the closet. I'll move that the City of Dawson Creek supports the grant application to the BC Air Access Program's Aviation Infrastructure Fund for a grant of up to $124,200 for the construction of a security fence for the Dawson Creek Regional Airport. Further, that the City of Dawson Creek commits to a contribution not exceeding 10% of the total project budget to cover any expenses not funded by this grant.
thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a second? Councillor Apollonio, any discussion? I will call this vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, 8.6, we have a letter from grant writer, City of Dawson Creek, received on March 10th, 2025, regarding a request for resolution of support for application to BC Air Access Program Airfield lighting.
I'll keep going.
Councillor Earl, thank you.
I'll move that the City of Dawson Creek supports the grant application to the BC Air Access Program's Aviation Infrastructure Fund for a grant of up to $118,800 for airfield lighting repairs for the Airfield lighting repairs project at the Dawson Creek Regional Airport. Further, that the city commits to a contribution not exceeding 10% of the total project budget to cover any expenses not funded by this grant.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a second? Councillor MacDonald? Any discussion? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed and it's carried. Next, we have 8.7, letter from grant writer, City of Dawson Creek, received on March 10th, 2025, regarding a request for resolution of support for application to BC Air Access Program Airfield line painting. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that the City of Dawson Creek supports the grant application to the BC Air Access Program's Aviation Infrastructure Fund for a grant of up to $162,000 for airfield line painting project at the Dawson Creek Regional Airport. Further, that the city commits to a contribution not exceeding 10% of the total project budget to cover any expenses not funded by this grant.
Thank you again, Councillor Earl. Second, Councillor Sudnick. Any discussion? All right, I'll call this motion. Vote is closed and it's carried. Thank you again, Councillor Earl, for those. Next order business 9 reports. 9.1, we have report number 25-044 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding the 2025 Draft 3 budget. I'll get Melissa just to give a quick update before we go forward. So go ahead, Melissa.
Thank you. So through your worship to council, with the draft 3 budget, we're seeing increases on the operating side, specifically to deal with $60,000 addition related to dam safety inspection and $320,000 related to repairs and maintenance of the water treatment, mainly as a result of the GAC media report that was presented to council at the last meeting. Those are being funded in 2 different ways. We are funding in partially by the $150,000 that was budgeted for the GAC media project in 2024 that didn't proceed. So theoretically, those funds have just went into the reserves, and so now we're pulling that out. The other $230,000 is needed is coming out of the extra money that we were transferring to water. We didn't allow a surplus to accumulate within the operating fund, so we need to decrease that extra $1.3 million transfer that was occurring to capital down to 1.07. So the net impact for that overall surplus fund within the operating is $150,000. On the capital side, you'll notice there's an error that was corrected from draft 2 on the allocation of the Growing Communities grant from the Splash to fund the development of the Splash Park. We originally had that categorized as grant revenue within draft 2, but we've received that in 2023, and so it should have been showing as coming out of reserves. So the draft 3 budget has made that correction. For the water side as well, you're seeing an increase for the project of the under drains and media filter replacement of $293,000. A future report is going to come to council on that, but just given the current market conditions, that's our updated estimated cost on that project. For the overall reserves are on page 69 of the report. But that's mainly the summary of the changes that were made within the draft 3 budget.
Thank you, Melissa. Any questions to Melissa, or I guess we can get the recommendation? Oh, Councillor.
Sure, I'll draw a recommendation and give. Should I ask a question for? I mean, I guess just not a question so much as a comment. Obviously, as the mayor noted with his look at me when you said the increase in budget for the under drains is pretty arresting, and obviously as we are now 2 months into tariffs, but maybe not tariffs, and more tariffs, but not tariffs, are we seeing the market increasingly erratic with respect to what we're trying to source for our various projects, or have we gotten what we need kind of secured by now? Are we expecting that, 3 or 4 months from now we're going to have to knock off a couple projects that unexpectedly escalated, or are we fairly certain that we're making allowances for any other unanticipated cost increases?
I think I seem to recall Kevin kind of summarizing this at the last meeting that as tenders come in, we'll continue to evaluate and see where we need increases. We definitely have contingency built into all the capital projects, but we saw with the GAC media and the increase there that we're kind of proactively looking at increasing the capital project because it includes the under drains. But I don't know if anybody else has.
Ryan?
Yeah, through your worship, I think, as there are some tenders that have gone out, and I think staff are just in the process of prepping them and getting reports back to council for you. I think that we've seen, in some cases, some items are more than what was part of the budget, and I think that you'll see in some of the reports coming back of managing within the envelopes that have been approved, but of course that'll come for your approval. I do know that there are some other items, though, that we've been working through on the capital side that are under what we have budgeted for. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag of what the items are and what the project is as well.
Thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Well, just further to that issue, my informal conversations with people I have around the province would indicate that many people, some businesses are buying things now, getting like advance approval, because there's pretty good existing stock in Canada, as an example, right? So let's take solar panels. there's good start of that, but the inverters, no. And so what some municipalities are doing is they're being very strategic, just like this has been the pattern in this council for some projects, such as paving as an example. We say, yeah, that's a go. That's going to stay in budget. Go ahead and get tenders and get on with it. And so some places are doing that, but for a broader swath than what is traditional. So I'm just offering that as a consideration to staff for reflection. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Discussion. Would somebody like to put the recommendation forward, please? Councillor Earl.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move the recommendation that report number 25-044 from the Chief Financial Officer regarding 2025 Draft 3 budget report be received. Further, that Council approve the 2025 Draft 3 budget as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Earl. Do I have a second? Councillor Sudnick, discussion? No? All right, I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. 2 opposed, Councillor MacDonald and Councillor Parslow. All right. Next order of business was 9.2. We have memo from Executive Assistant regarding addressing rural physician shortages due to PRA-BC and LFP changes, NCLGA resolution. Councillor Parslow.
No, I'm not going to make, there's too much reading there for me. Someone wants to read.
You can just do the proposed motion.
Just the proposed motion rather than the rest. Okay, the council authorizes the...
Do we need the background first?
The whereas.
Yeah, the whole proposed motion, yeah.
Oh, I'll stop being stupid. The council authorizes the following resolution to the 2025 North Central Local Government Association AGM and Convention to be hosted in Prince Rupert from May the 12th to 15th, 2025. Addressing rural physician shortages due to PRA-BC and LFP changes, City of Dawson Creek. Whereas rural and remote communities face significant challenges in recruiting and retaining primary care physicians, leading to chronic understaffing and healthcare access issues. And whereas the expansion of the Practice Ready Assessment, British Columbia, PRA-BC programs eligible communities, and the implementation of the longitudinal family physician LFP payment model has contributed to increased physician shortages, excessive workloads, and frequent emergency room diversions in rural areas. Therefore, be it resolved that the NCLGA and UBCM lobby the provincial government to reassess the recent changes to the PRA-BC program and LFP payment model, ensuring that these initiatives prioritize the recruitment and retentions of physicians in rural and remote communities to address ongoing healthcare disparities.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a second? Councillor Kemp? I guess I can just add a little bit to this, but, I think there's, as we all know, there's a lot of struggles we're facing in healthcare, and, working with doctors at South Peace Division of Family Practice, we kind of went through this and came up, these are the 2 most critical ones that are impacting all of rural BC, and I just wanted to give a shout out to Kathy and Tab for their amount of effort that they put in to this one. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of really understanding, a lot of education on it. So I just thank you to yourself and Kathy for your commitment, and yeah, you did an amazing job, so thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, well, I'm going to thank Ryan. I met with Ryan about the agenda, and he explained it succinctly to me. Once there was a program that was advantageous for recruiting rural doctors, and then that was negated by another change that gave pretty similar benefit to all doctors. So the government worked positively one way to support rural healthcare, then negated it by another action. And so this is a very important resolution.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a couple of years ago they opened it up to urban centers, the PRA portion of it. So yeah.
They do well, Ryan?
Well, thank you as well, Ryan. All right, any other discussion? I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Next, we got 10 bylaws, 10.1, report number 25-041 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Fire Protection Amendment Bylaw number 4599, 2025 for consideration of adoption. Councillor MacDonald?
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to move the report number 25-041 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding Fire Protection Amendment Bylaw number 4599, 2025 be received. Further, that the Fire Protection Amendment Bylaw number 4599, 2025, which includes amendments to align the bylaw with the new Fire Safety Act, be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor MacDonald. Do I have a second? Councillor Kemp? Discussion? All right, I will call this motion to vote. Vote is closed, and it's carried. Next order, business 11, mayor's business, 11.1, mayor's updates. I'll try and give as much information as I can right now. I'm a little foggy, so I will go through this. Community conversations, I had a few over the last couple of weeks, multiple ones, but one thing I just wanted to touch on is that I have another open door day coming this Friday from 11 till 1 at City Hall. So if you hear of anybody that's got any questions or wants any more information on what we're doing, please just let them know that to come in. So I look forward to them, and it's always great conversation. Peace River Regional District, there was a special budget meeting within the last couple of weeks, so I just went through that. There's a lot of more information on there, so I won't cover all of it, but the Regional District, I think it's about 60 different functions that we go through on all the different budgets throughout the whole region. So there's been a lot done out there to minimize the increase. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Roxanne, the CFO there, Sean, the CAO, and the whole team at the Regional District, because they've done an amazing job putting that budget together as well, and keeping it with all the pressures we face. They've done a great job. Leaders Table, attended that a few weeks ago. Councillor MacDonald joined me. Couple updates from that. There was a really good presentation that I personally enjoyed just on the Ducks Unlimited. Was there, just learned a lot about what they're doing, and not just the region, but Western Canada. So that was great. There was a bit of a presentation on wildfire, and then just the continued relationships that get built at that meeting. It's really phenomenal. So that physician recruitment and retention meeting, so I had a meeting a few weeks ago. I wanted to, so that's just, it's continuing to progress along. There's some subcommittees that are getting set up, but I wanted to take this time to touch on a couple things, but one, to the NCLGA resolution on the PRA and LFP changes. So we also put a letter out to Minister Osborne for a meeting. I'm sure you guys all recall about myself and potentially others flying down there. So MLA Neufeld spoke to Minister Osborne down there while they were in session, and she agreed just to give me a call. So she actually called me, or I talked to her on Friday. So I had a 40-minute conversation with her on all the challenges that the physicians are facing. It was a really good call. She definitely understood it. She there was a lot we talked about. So we'll get into too much, but the main things was the PRA and the LFP program were the two main ones. But there's also some other significant things that bring challenges to the local physicians, and where we've gone over the last 3 years to having a close to full crew of physicians to very skeleton right now. So we're very I say we because we're just concerned about our physicians in the position we're in right now, and I want to give them as much support. They're holding things together right now, and they're doing a phenomenal job. We had Councillor Sudnick and myself had a meeting actually the day before with a few of the physicians in the Division of Family Practice, just to really, just to go over everything in general and what we need to push for and advocate for. So, yeah, I'm assuming there's going to be more that comes from that meeting. I won't fly down there now that I've had that meeting in person. There was some asks that went out, so Minister Osborne left it with that she's going to look into everything and basically get back. So I will keep you posted as it goes. But I did want to give a shout out to MLA Neufeld as well. We've been working closely together too on the healthcare struggles and talking a lot just to make sure we're both on the same page. So, and as well for arranging that meeting. And a thank you to Minister Osborne for taking the time to speak with me. Next, RCMP. Just wanted to touch base. I think we had a great update from our staff sergeant last meeting, so I'm not going to get too much into that, but obviously we're grateful for our RCMP. But Kevin and myself went to the last, they have 4 different shifts, so we just went over there and just really thanked them from council just for the job they're doing and all the stuff that they've been through, and really the successes that they've been seeing. So we were able to get over there. It was 4 different mornings to meet with their crew change. So yeah, they were very grateful that we came there, but it was really about from council and really from the whole community as a whole that we're very appreciative of what they do each and every day. Hockey Canada announcement and event. This was last week. There's so many multiple things that I wanted to talk about with this, but one, I guess I wanted to give a shout out to the city team that helped organize the few days. So Ryan, there's absolutely no way. Like I'm sure it would have happened without, but you did so much to ensure the success of those 2 days. So just a real huge thank you to you and your team. It is so appreciative, and not only just for the city of Dawson Creek, but it was a very regional aspect from all levels, including yourself. So it's just, it's extremely appreciative. So thank you to Chelsea, Melissa, the Ovintiv Event Center staff, all the sponsors, the neighbors, schools, most importantly, the kids. I think, yeah, the kids are what this is truly about when you get to see their excitement. And I got to experience that day. Just the whole excitement of those kids and how it was just next level how they were. And that really just puts the icing on the cake, how valuable this is for our region. Also our regional partners, that event, we had pretty much, representation from majority of the Peace Country and the First Nations. It was just phenomenal to have everybody in a room and come together in support of this event and really just show that it is a regional event. It's not just the city, Dawson Creek. We're fortunate enough that we have the facility here to house these, but it is a regional one right into Alberta. So the whole Peace Country, and then I want to end with thanking Tyler McGregor, who is the captain for Team Canada, who took his time out of his journey and busy time of his season right now to come up here for 3 days. I got to hang out with him for most of the day. Went to the high school, and I got the complete honor to listen to him and privilege to listen to his story. It was absolutely phenomenal, and not just his story about what he went through and where he's at, but how he's resonated that with life. It was so powerful. It was so much more than than what he's been through. And I'm not downplaying what he's been through because he's been through a lot. But just his message was amazing. And yeah, he definitely represents Canada well, and he wears that C. And I'm proud that he's the captain for our country in that sport. So I just wanted to thank him and everybody. So. Thank you. CBC, I had a daybreak interview with CBC. This was a few weeks ago, just on the update of the Elgin Medical Clinic. So I'll give a brief update, not really completely my avenue to give an update. We'll get one from the Southeast Division of Family Practice closer to you, but they are moving along. There's been a lot of progress to get to where they need to. It's a 2 to 4 year process to get it fully up and operational. They did just hire a nurse practitioner associate, I believe, and that language could be completely wrong, but it is somebody just to help to guide it forward and get the right positions in place. The Chickadee Clinic has moved in there. There is use by our community. But I did get a brief update from Charlie Rudy, and she said everything is on pace and on their schedule already, so they're not behind time, they're not ahead of time, they're moving along well. So I want to touch base on that. Tour of Dawson Creek Sportsman Club. So I wanted to give a shout out to Councillor Parslow, and is it Ken? Ken, for taking the time. They offered to give us a tour of the new indoor range out at the facility. So there's a few of us that attended. It really is like a next level facility. Like it blew me away. I've known a lot about it, and I've used the other parts of that facility before, but not that one. And it is just to see that indoor range and the level of magnitude it is, really. Like it is, I think one of us mentioned there that it's almost like it's out of the movies. Like it's just it's a first class facility, and pretty beneficial to have that in our region. Not pretty, it's hugely beneficial. So just, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to show us, and obviously thank you to the whole board out there for what they've done in processing this forward, so, and all the partners. And then last, I just wanted to give a shout out to the Dawson Creek Senior Canucks and the Dawson Creek Kodiaks for, a great year this year. Their year did end a little shorter than they wished, or the community wished, but nonetheless, they had a great year and a successful year. Lots of attendance at their games, and teams and organizations that are continuing to grow. So I just wanted to thank them for their commitment. There's a lot of volunteer time that goes into both those organizations at a board level to keep them above and going. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them and thank you. Any questions on any of those? Councillor Parslow?
No questions, but I just want to add a little bit, if I may. Concerning the RCMP, obviously with my family, I'm a huge supporter of the RCMP, but I must comment, I've had some interactions with the senior staff of the RCMP recently, and it's just, I think they're just incredible.
Yeah.
And example, we worked out some arrangements with the RCMP for the use of the Sportsman's Club, and there's concerns both sides, and just to see senior RCMP officers coming forward with win-win solutions is just incredible. And so I asked the staff sergeant if he would give me some advice on emergency procedures, so I get presented the whole thing. He went over and above what he was asked. It's just characteristic of a good leader. And I also want to say that I said this to Ryan, but I'm going to use this as an opportunity. I attended the Hockey Canada announcement and events, and I was impressed by the event. But the thing that stood out for me was the professionalism of Ryan McIver at that event. It was excellent. I just thought, gee, this has always been well done, but that was a very professional presentation, and I commend Ryan for that. The Sportsman's Club, again, Ryan suggested I take Chelsea down there, and just to see a person being creative and thinking out of the box of how that can be used for recreation. I always love that out of the box thinking, and again, just the caliber of staff we have. I'm just so pleased about that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Councillor Parzo. I absolutely agree on everything you said. So
I'll have to find something we disagree.
yeah, well, so thank you, Councillor Apollonio.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just only want to echo. Thank you very much, Ryan, for helping us during the immersion at the hockey kin arena. You're so helpful, especially me struggling there. But yeah, it made my experience a wonderful one. So thank you. Yeah, I saw that professionalism, of course, being up there supporting everyone, especially during the kin arena presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Apollonio. Yeah, I forgot to mention that a few of us went on the ice and skated. So. Yeah, it was. I was a little fearful going into it because my expectations were that it was going to be. I'm not going to say it was easy, but it definitely wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. But it's we also have different equipment than the professionals have too. That made it a little bit easier. But yeah, it was fun actually. It was a blast, and there was quite a few people that participated. There must have been, I bet you 15 to 20 that went out at different times, maybe even more actually. So including some kids. So yeah, it was a blast. So Tyler did an amazing job with that, but then he also spent the time with the 2 hockey teams that were scheduled that day as well. So he spent individual time with those kids, and they were just next level excited. So it was good. So yeah. All right. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to 11.2, the delegation request from Community Futures Peace Liard. So I think that the request is to look at that MOU. I think that's a pretty big thing for us to make a decision on now. So I would maybe think that we should just direct the city team to bring us something back for the next council meeting on what this means, would be my thoughts, but open to somebody to make a recommendation. Councillor Parslow?
I would move that we request staff give an analysis of this proposed MOU and particularly the staff implications.
Okay.
Or let's put it another way, implications for staffing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parslow. Do I have a second? Councillor Earl? Any discussion? So we got up there that staff be directed to bring back a report for council that includes the financial and staff implications associated with the implementation of the North Peace Rural Communities Immigration Pilot Program, and I believe a breakdown of what the MOU is. So we just would need to add the MOU part in. Councillor Parslow?
Yeah, I wanted to be clear. I mean, I wondered what this was all about, and then thanks to Councillor MacDonald, I got and what was said, I see the real need for this. I don't want anyone to think, oh, I'm sitting on the fence here. No, I can understand why we need this. But we also there's no rush to sign this MOU right now. We need to go into this with our eyes open as it relates to budget and staffing implication. I don't believe the staff can do this off the side of their desk, given my understanding today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Councillor Parslow. I am definitely in support of anything that helps the region. It's just, I just want to have everything in front of us to make that proper decision. So, any other discussion? All right, I'll call this motion to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Next, was there any Chief Administrative Officer operational updates? No updates? I just had one, I wanted to touch on was just the potholes in the community, just that time of year. So just for those that are listening or for us that are sitting here, as you're driving around and you see potholes, there's a city platform to report those. And it's critical that they're done because we don't have the resources to be driving around every street in our community. So if you're noticing one, you just go to our web-based or the app, I believe, and you report a concern, and you can just fill in there where the potholes are. So we, the city team really looks to that information to do their planning and to help with their planning. Obviously, they're aware of a lot of them, but it just helps them as much as they can. So don't feel like you're, bothering or anything. We need to know about it. So, all right. Next order of business, 13 diary I don't think there's anything in the diary. 14 consent calendar, nothing in the consent calendar, no media questions, so just a motion to adjourn. Councillor MacDonald, second Councillor Earl. Call that to vote. Vote is closed. It's carried. Thank you.